You ready?
Right. Sure. Yes.
Okay. All right. We can just jump right in here.
Sounds good.
Okay. I'll read your bio and then we will get going. We are recording. All right. So here we go. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, folks. Welcome back to the Trauma Therapist Podcast. I have back Mahshid Hager. Mahshid, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. And I'm so glad you're back. She joined me back on episode 485 of the podcast. You know, your openness and your, what was it? Your directness and your willingness to just to share your story and who you were is just resonated. I mean, it's what this podcast is about. And so let me read your intro, and then we'll dive in here. So Mahshid is a licensed marriage and family therapist and a somatic experiencing practitioner in San Diego, California. Her professional life includes providing therapeutic services to clients from all walks of life, volunteering for nonprofit organizations in San Diego that offer resources to new incoming refugees, and attending somatic experiencing training modules in various capacities and supporting SE students. Originally from Tehran, Iran, Mahshid is the author of the short story No Way Back and the playwright of the same titled solo show, in which she details the harrowing journey of her family's escape from Iran to Turkey and eventually to Germany. And I remember when you shared that, I was like, what? Anyway, welcome back.
Sprung that on you. Thanks.
So look, let's check in. What's been going on with you? This craziness and the seriousness of it is just so crazy. I have something in my nose here, but how have you been?
I've been hanging in there. I've been busy. I've been, doing my thing, being in training environments, seeing clients. I think since the last time we spoke, I've entered into the faculty track at SEI. So I'm currently in the mentoring process and co-teaching a bunch of our SE trainings with a couple of my mentors. Yeah. So in that regard, I've kept busy. And, the world is just, I was telling a friend the other day, I need a pause button. I just need everything to pause for a bit. And that's what I'm hearing a lot from clients is like, we're entering into year 3 of this global pandemic. This is our third wave, I believe, third significant wave since 2020 when it first started. And I'm just noticing both the exhaustion, the weariness, the grief in myself and in my clients. And I feel like the past few months, especially, and moving forward into 2021, a lot of my work is going to be focused around how do we sustain, given that there doesn't really seem to be an end in sight. I don't know. I think I went into my first global pandemic kind of naively, like a lot of us did.
Right.
And I thought, certainly the powers that be will get a handle on this and life can be back to normal. And that has not really happened. Yeah. And so now it becomes about what supports do I need in place? What supports do the communities I work with need in place so that we can sustain this prolonged seriousness and heaviness of our current world,
But yeah, that makes so much sense to me and it resonates with me. And, I'm wondering, before this pandemic, what was there for you when you were working with clients? Was it the what was in front of you, the day-to-day? Now we have this collective trauma, essentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is that the shift now? Is what you're seeing and what you're quote unquote working on and engaging with your clients? Is it just how to deal with this, as you're saying?
Yeah. And I'm, that collective piece is really interesting to me because I feel like up until the pandemic, in this Western American culture, each of us was dealing with their own stresses in the ways that was helpful to us, right? Like I have a really supportive partner. I've always been in therapy, especially during times of heightened stress in my life. I make sure that I have a good self-care routine. It was all individual, right? It was all like me, my
You do
immediate
you. Let's all
family.
do
Yeah.
us.
Yes.
Right.
And I think the lessons of the past couple of years is like, what can we do collectively? And I come from a more collective culture. I grew
Mhm.
up in a multi-generational household in Iran, and I've experienced that the benefits of collective healing, the benefits of what can happen when we come together in community, and each of us has a role, each of us has a piece to hold up this heaviness. And for me, it's become more about how can I recreate that, and how can I
Mhm.
encourage my clients to create that, because it's too big and too much for each of us to hold on our own. We're
Right.
all going through the same thing. Some have more resources and are going through it easier. Some have less resources and they're having a harder time. But I think what this pandemic has highlighted is that we need each other, and not only to get through it, but for support, and
Mhm.
that piece has been really important to me, especially in the past few months.
For when I hear you say that, and as we're talking about this, it I think it makes perfect sense. And at the same time, I could imagine myself, being in therapy and with my own needs, and we all have different needs, but then thinking, oh my God, I got to deal with the collective. I have to deal with everybody's. How do you, as a therapist, how do you frame that? How do you approach that? I mean, how do we each take into consideration the collective? What does that mean, I guess?
I draw upon my own experiences. I think there is this. I've definitely come into contact with what you're describing. Like I've got my own problems. I don't
Right.
need everyone else's on top of that. But the burden lessens in my experience, both for myself and in working with clients who are in, more collectivist communities. The burden lessens when we come together. I remember growing up in Iran, whenever there was illness in the family or there was a death in the family, and there were many, because when you live in a multi-generational household with 25, 30 people, then lots of events happen throughout your life, and you come in contact with a lot of those things. I just remember these women would show up from the neighborhood or from like extended family. People would take a bus and come and bring food,
Mm.
and they would descend on the household and go into the kitchen and prepare meals. And to me, while we were all going through our little family thing, the arrival of the community would always be met with this like sigh of relief, like,
Mhm.
oh, good, they're here to help. Someone else can hold this with me. Someone else can witness this with me. I don't have to no longer go through it alone, and that's the piece that I feel like I've always believed in collective healing, but especially at a time like this when we're all going through the same thing together. I feel like it's so important. There's been so much death recently in my
Mhm.
in my acquaintance and friend circle. So many people have lost their loved ones, And I recently spoke to a friend who lost someone very close to her, and um she's Jewish, and she was like, I checked in with her and was like, what can I do? What do you need? And she said, I have people here. I won't be alone for weeks. You can
Wow.
check in with me in a few weeks. And there was just this like, okay, she's taken care of. She's got people that support her. She's,
Right.
they're cocooning her and holding this
Mhm.
huge loss with her. And I mean, I get chills down my arms just talking about it. Something about that feels really powerful.
That I mean, I love that, and it just seems like the right thing to do. The just to engage, and yet, right, a lot of us are being asked to isolate and not to go out, so we have
Yeah.
this kind of dichotomy here, but
Yeah.
I mean, just to hear you talk about that, we all need that. But you're right, especially now, we need to, and I'm saying this to myself to remind ourselves because I'm not the best at this, to re-engage and to engage in society and to be there for other people.
Yeah. Yeah. And we absolutely, we still have limitations. Absolutely, we still need to be COVID safe. And I've relied on Zoom. I've relied on, I'm on this text thread with a group of 6 of my friends, colleagues, people I really who are doing similar work that I am doing, but we've also become really close over the last few years. And that text thread with these 8 other women has been going on probably for 3 years now. And
Well,
we're just there to check in with each other,
right.
like, oh my gosh, what a long week. How's everyone doing? And you can stay in communication with a group of
Hmm.
trusted friends and each support each other, like somebody might post, I just had a terrible session. I don't know. I don't even know if I should be a therapist. Oh my gosh, and everybody comes in and says, we've all had those sessions, breathe, you
Hmm.
probably did better than you think. And that's just been such a source of support.
Hmm.
It doesn't always have to be in person. It doesn't always have to be effortful. You
Hmm.
can create a bubble, you can create a place where you can have that connection, even with the limitations that we have today.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. You know, before we met today, I was checking out your website, which I love, by the way.
Thank
It's
you.
beautiful. Yeah, you're welcome.
Mm.
And you have on there a saying, a quote that says, I'm just going to paraphrase here. When I'm meeting with clients, my first goal, if you will, is to show up as a person, and a therapist second.
Mhm.
And I love that. And my question to you is, was that always the case for you?
No, I mean, when I was first when
Right.
I was first starting off, especially in private practice, I put a lot of pressures on myself to show up as the good therapist.
Yeah.
Like people are coming in, they're paying me a lot of money. I need to really prove myself. I really need to, show them all this training I've had. I need to, within the first or second session, show them all of my skills and all of my credentials. And that was a way of stepping out as a therapist first. And then more and more and more, the more comfortable and confident I got, and the more I trusted in this like human to human connection and how like co-regulation can work.
Mm-hmm.
Co-regulation can help us settle and help us come out of our trauma vortex. um the more I was able to see that most people, what they really need is a human to human connection.
Mm-hmm.
Like that seems to do more, especially in those initial phases of therapy, than any certificate I could have on the wall that could impress them. If I can just sit and say, okay, for the next hour, you don't have to hold this thing by yourself. I don't know if I can help. I don't know if I'll have the tools, but I'm going to be here with you, holding it with you, looking at it with you, and we can go through it together and see what we can do. I've become a lot more collaborative with my clients. So rather than me having the answers that I then impart on them, I'm always engaged in collaboration. I have an idea I want to run by you. Let me know how that resonates with you. And let's see if you want to go in that direction. And
Mm-hmm.
I am completely open to them saying, no, I want to go into a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can do that for a bit and then revisit the options.
Yeah, I mean, just listening to you say that, it makes me feel, it like empowers the client, right? Empowers that person that,
Absolutely.
wait a minute, I have a say, and not only that, but what I have to say means something, which
Right.
could possibly be a whole new world for a lot of people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember when we spoke in our first episode, you talked about your background and your story,
Mhm.
and how much that impacted you and influenced you and inspired you. And, now here we're talking about some similar things about, uh, you know, being a human and the importance of that. And, that's not always easy
Mhm.
to just to do that. Like you were
Mhm.
saying before, when you were first starting out, it's, I've got this degree, I've got to prove, I've got to live up to that. My gosh,
Yes.
and they've got to see my skills. And
Mhm.
but what you're talking about um, opens up this idea of being vulnerable as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that directly relates to my own personal work. We have to develop the capacity to be more vulnerable within ourselves
Mm,
before we can show up in that like open, genuine way with our clients. A lot of my, like, I have to show up as this expert therapist person comes from the place of not being able to tap into that vulnerability for myself. I might not have all the answers. I
mm-hmm.
might not be the right therapist for every client, and that has taken some time to develop. That has taken some time to develop through my own personal work, through SE. Um, there's also this piece about like being an immigrant, and I shared my story with you. My family sort of hit the ground running. We weren't able to process the trauma that we just came through because we were in survival mode. We had to hit the ground running, learn the language real fast, get a job real fast, excel at school because you don't want to fall behind. You've already lost the year. All of those things conditioned my system to be in this sort of like, don't you dare slow down, don't you dare pause, because you might fall behind, or you might not be accepted, or you might not survive. And yeah, the working all of those past traumas through has helped my nervous system settle into a different phase where it can have a choice about running or not running. It can have an option of working hard or not working hard. That option wasn't always available.
Where do you think your strength or one of your strengths lie as a therapist?
Oh gosh, I really hate talking about myself. um, I think one of my strengths lies in that I can relate to just about anyone. Like, I feel like I can relate to and join just about anyone or anyone's story. Like, I think I am able to find something within what they're presenting that I can connect to from this
Mm-hmm.
real, vulnerable human place. I think that's one of my experiences. One of my strengths, and I think another one of my strengths is that I feel like I've lived several lives. you know,
Mm-hmm.
just like different cultures, different languages coming through, and like having lived through war, having lived through some violence, having gone through a divorce, having suffered loss, having been poor. Like,
Right.
I feel like those experiences in life have given me both that first skill of being able to relate to a wide range of humans, and also the capacity to hold um, hold the current state of things a little loosely, like, because I know things can change and things can change quickly. Yeah.
As we talk about this, I want to make clear for our listeners that, in no way am I suggesting that, skills and knowledge and technique and interventions, of course, are irrelevant. Not at all.
Absolutely not.
They're
Yeah.
there, of course.
Yeah.
But this integrating the two is like where the art comes in a sense, right? Being
Mhm.
able to, I know when I was seeing clients, I was very much that person. I had my briefcase full of techniques and interventions, and my, you know, qualifications clutched tight to my chest, to my fault. Of course,
Yeah.
it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And and just hearing you talk about how you've been able to utilize, and I don't even know if accept, your history, your story is so important. But for a lot of people, it's very challenging. How am I
Mhm.
supposed to, accept this story I have, and honor that and bring that into the work I'm doing with a client, and be vulnerable about it? What does it take to get to this space that you're in?
I mean, I assume it's different for each person, you know. For me, it's been a lot about developing some self-compassion, you know, giving myself a little bit of a slack. And again, having to develop the capacity for that, to say that, you know, you're exhausted because you've been running your whole life because you've been in survival mode. It's
Mhm.
okay, you know, that is okay. You're holding on to this, to all your certificates and all your skills, because that's been helping you so far. You know, that's helped you survive and come this far, and that is okay, you know. But my interest is in widening the range of being. Do I have to be? There's still situations, there's still job interviews, there's
Mhm.
still you know, public speaking engagements and whatnot, where I need to put that skill set first. You know, I need to come with the, but I don't want that to be the only lane I operate out of. That's not always necessary. I'm no longer in survival. And ideally, I want to develop a wider range of being. Right now, I'm exploring. Honestly, I was just like this weekend, I spent a lot of time with this, exploring what it means to do less,
Mhm.
what it looks like to rest, you
Right.
know, what it looks like to say no to opportunities that seem grand, you know, because they seem like they would take a lot of time and energy and space in my life, you know, and grappling with, oh my gosh, will my peers judge me, or will my spouse have an issue if I don't work in an 8-hour day, or what's the expectation, you know, my own and society's, you know. I'm
Mhm.
not of retirement age yet. What does it mean if I cut down my client load? You know, does it
Mhm.
mean I'm incapable? Does it mean I'm weak? Like all of those themes are
Right.
something I'm grappling with. I turned 50 last year, so it's like, you know, I'm right on that cusp of like middle age. What does it mean? How hard do I want to keep pushing, and for how long, and for what? You know, all of those themes are really alive for me right now.
There's a common thought and discussion, topic of discussion, I think, in the field of therapy, and I want to run this by you and get your thoughts on this. Someone posted this on my Facebook page for as a query. What are your thoughts on the statement? As a therapist, you can only take someone as far as you've gone, right? You can only bring
Hmm.
someone to that place only if you've been there.
Hmm. I don't know. I don't know that I buy fully into that. You know, I don't think that you have to have suffered great loss to understand or to hold space for someone else that's experiencing great loss, you know.
Hmm.
I feel like we can, to me, it's about nervous system states, you
Hmm.
know. And if I can develop the capacity to hold a lot of charge, or to hold a lot of intensity, or to hold a lot of sadness, then I don't think I have to have experienced that very thing that the client brings, you know.
Hmm.
Maybe my nervous system has had to have experience, or has had to have practice holding those things. One good
Hmm.
example is anger, right? If clients come in and a sense of healthy aggression seems really appropriate, but I have a problem with anger. I have not grown up in a family where anger was allowed. I have judgments about myself when I get angry.
Hmm.
Then I might not be able to hold space with my client's healthy aggression. I might not be able to fully engage with what needs to happen in the session. And so in that way, I think it's true. I don't think it's about specific events or specific experiences.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about what does your nervous system have the capacity for, and how have you developed that, and how are
Right.
you practicing that?
Right.
You know, if I don't have access to joy, then my client's joy I might not know what to do with or how to
Mm-hmm.
engage with, you know.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
This whole situation with the pandemic, um, has it brought new thoughts about what therapy is to you, or how
Mm.
you do therapy, how you engage with your clients? I mean, has it shifted your definition of what being a therapist means?
In some way, it has confirmed what I've always known. It has highlighted and confirmed what I've always known, which is when something like this happens, those who are more vulnerable, those who live more at the margins in our society, suffer greater,
Mm,
you know, suffer more than those who have more resources. That's been really highlighted. I know we've spoken how I work in refugee communities, you know, and the pandemic was very, very challenging. You know, lack of uh, community engagement, lack of resources. You know, agencies were either shutting down for periods of time or didn't have the staffing that they typically did, and so those communities were really affected. Um, and then it has changed. You know, my love-hate relationship with Zoom, because initially I was like, I'm shutting down the practice for 2 weeks. I'm hoping that I be back in office in 2 weeks. You know, that was March of 2020, and I haven't been back since. And it's like, you know, I kind of like turned my nose up at doing therapy virtually and doing classrooms virtually, and I still in some way believe that in person is best. You know, I
mhm,
really miss seeing a full human in front of me, or seeing a full classroom of 50 people in front of me. But I can't deny that it's been so great in some
mm,
other ways, right? To be able to reach a wider range of humans, to be able to offer a space where people who can't travel can come, people who don't have a car can get sessions, you know. It's and it's definitely changed my mind about whether virtual therapy can help or not.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Let me just remind everyone that I'm speaking with Mahshid Hager. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you, Mahshid?
The best way is email,
Okay.
and that is mhager, mft at gmail.com.
Okay. And of
And
course,
also through my website,
okay.
mahshidhager.com, there's a contact page
Okay.
at the bottom of each page of that website. So
We'll
you
have
can
that
also
linked up.
reach me through that. Great.
Awesome here.
Yeah.
So all right, you're on the you're working with SE, teaching who? Teaching what?
I am co-teaching right now the Somatic Experiencing Institute's SE trainings.
Okay.
So the Somatic Experiencing International, sorry, they've changed their mind. They changed their name, and
Hmm.
I'm still getting used to it. Somatic Experiencing International offers a roughly 3-year certification program in somatic experiencing, with the first year being beginning level classes, second year being intermediate, and third year being advanced. And I am currently in the mentorship program to become faculty, and co-teaching a training in Anchorage, Alaska with our faculty member, Linda Stelt, and co-teaching a training in Golden, Colorado with our faculty member,
Oh wow.
Allison Halquist. Yeah.
So in person.
Oh, these are online.
They're
These
online.
are online.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But we're, you know, they're regional, and so they still have the city label on them. Yeah,
Okay.
but they're all happening on Zoom. Mhm.
For those people out there who maybe aren't familiar with SE or wondering about it, what would you say to them? Who should take these classes?
The classes are for anyone who considers them to be in a helping profession. So therapists, social workers, we've had nurses, we've had teachers, we've had doctors, chiropractors, craniosacral therapists. We have had doulas come through our trainings, and midwives. It's a um, wide range of students that we have, because we work with nervous system. So
Mm-hmm.
as somatic experiencing, I know you've had a lot of my colleagues on your show, is basically including the nervous system in the therapeutic process. So really, I believe anyone who comes in contact with other nervous systems,
Mm-hmm.
this training is good for. I think, I think it's made me a better parent. It's made me a better educator. It's made me a better spouse. So anyone who works with other nervous systems and comes in contact with maybe dysregulation or intensity, or has clients who are struggling with past traumas, the training would be appropriate for. Mhm.
Awesome. People can learn about these are these trainings open now?
They are
Oh,
open.
okay.
Some are being scheduled for in person for later on this year. Some are still going to be offered online. And you can find all of the information at traumahealing.com.
Okay. I think you're probably an awesome teacher.
Oh,
I
thank
mean,
you so much.
I mean, my gosh, I would recommend anyone taking a class. I'm serious, no BS. I mean, you just exude this genuineness that is just really inspiring, and in and of itself is healing. I mean, listening to you talk and share your story and how you've enveloped that into the work you do is, I think it's beautiful. It's amazing.
I appreciate you, Dan.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mahshid, always great having you on here. After I have you on, I'm like, yes, this is why I'm doing this. And
That makes me happy.
Just appreciate you and you coming back on here.
Thank you so much. I would love to. Thanks for all you do as well.
I appreciate that.
you.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Sounds great.
All right.